Emma and Jake had been together for 6 years, sharing a quiet life in their cozy Portland apartment, where comfort often felt like routine, and routine sometimes felt like distance. On a rainy Friday evening, with the soft sound of raindrops tapping against the windows, Emma suggested inviting another couple over for dinner, hoping to bring a spark of excitement into their predictable lives. Jake hesitated, unsure if mingling with strangers could disrupt their equilibrium, but he saw the gleam in Emma's eyes and agreed, curious about her sudden burst of enthusiasm. When the doorbell rang, Emma opened it to Lisa and Mark, a couple whose energy was infectious, carrying warmth and laughter that immediately filled the room. The initial conversations were light and playful, wine glasses clinking, small jokes exchanged, and introductions made, but gradually the evening shifted into something more intimate. Mark shared stories about his childhood adventures, and Lisa spoke about dreams she had tucked away, and Emma and Jake found themselves drawn in, listening more closely than they expected, feeling the subtle pull of connection beyond casual friendliness. Sitting across from each other, Emma noticed Jake's eyes linger on Lisa a second longer than usual, and a flutter of unease passed through her chest, though she brushed it off with a laugh. Meanwhile, Mark's easy humor and attentive listening drew Emma in, making her laugh more freely than she had in weeks, and she realized she was enjoying the company in a way that felt new, almost electric. The room seemed to pulse with a gentle tension, a mix of curiosity, attraction, and playful energy that neither couple had anticipated, and as dessert was served, there was a moment where all four of them paused, sensing a shift in the air, a quiet acknowledgement that tonight was no longer ordinary. The laughter grew softer, the smiles more meaningful, and casual touches, like a hand brushing against an arm, felt charged with emotion, though no words were spoken about it. Emma excused herself for a moment to refresh the wine, and when she returned, she noticed Jake and Lisa standing by the window, talking in hushed tones, their closeness undeniable even in silence, and for a fleeting moment, Emma felt an unexpected pang of jealousy, confusion, and excitement all at once. The night continued, each shared glance, laugh, and story layering feelings that were complex, unfamiliar, and slightly intoxicating. Emma and Jake both realized that inviting another couple had opened a door they hadn't expected, revealing emotions, attractions, and curiosities that stirred something deep within them, something that neither could fully understand yet. The evening ended with polite goodbyes, but the atmosphere had shifted permanently. What began as a casual dinner had blossomed into an emotional storm of longing, connection, and unspoken tension. Neither couple could ignore the electricity in the air, the questions silently hovering between them about attraction, trust, and the boundaries of their relationships, and as Emma and Jake closed the door behind their guests, they stood in the quiet apartment, hearts still racing, unsure of what had just happened, yet knowing one thing for certain, their lives had just changed, and nothing would feel the same again. The evening with Lisa and Mark lingered in Emma and Jake's minds long after the polite goodbyes, and the next few days were filled with a strange mix of excitement and unease as the memories of that night replayed in their thoughts. Emma found herself thinking about Mark's easy smile and the way he had listened to her stories with genuine interest, a warmth in his attention that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't expected. Jake, on the other hand, kept recalling Lisa's laughter and the gentle way she had leaned in during conversations, the brief touches that had seemed accidental but left a lingering impression. By midweek, both of them admitted, silently at first, that their evening had stirred something emotional, a mix of curiosity, desire, and tension that neither of them fully understood. On Thursday, Emma suggested meeting Lisa and Mark again, this time for a casual game night, hoping to explore the connection in a more relaxed setting. When the couples gathered at Emma and Jake's apartment, the atmosphere was immediately warm but charged with subtle energy, each person aware of the unspoken tension that hovered under the surface. They played board games and card games, the laughter flowing freely, but the competitive energy added a new layer to the evening, making small victories and teasing remarks feel more intimate than before. During a round of charades, Emma found herself paired with Mark, and their teamwork and easy communication sparked an unspoken connection, leaving her flushed with emotion she couldn't name. Across the room, Jake and Lisa were paired for a game of trivia, and the way their shoulders brushed, the quiet jokes shared in whispers, created a moment that left both of them slightly breathless, a mixture of thrill and guilt mingling in their hearts. The conversation shifted seamlessly from games to deeper topics. Mark spoke about a fear of stagnation in life, Lisa shared memories of past heartbreaks, and Emma and Jake found themselves revealing feelings they hadn't admitted even to each other, a strange and intimate openness growing between the two couples. At one point, Emma excused herself to the kitchen, and Mark followed shortly after to pour himself a drink, and the brief moments alone felt weighty, full of unspoken words and lingering glances. Jake, noticing Emma's absence, moved to the balcony to get some air and found Lisa there, staring at the city lights, and their conversation began lightly but soon turned more personal, about dreams, regrets, and the paths they wished they had taken. Each exchange, each shared laugh, each brush of hands or accidental touch carried a tension that was both thrilling and terrifying, as both couples realized that the night was blurring lines they had assumed were clear. Emma returned to the living room, catching a glimpse of Jake and Lisa talking softly, and a strange ache of jealousy and longing tightened in her chest, yet at the same time, she felt a rush of curiosity and excitement at the unpredictability of the evening. The wine flowed, laughter mixed with confessions, and playful teasing became charged with subtle flirtation. Though nothing explicit happened, every moment felt heavier with emotion, every smile carried more meaning. By the time midnight approached, the four of them were sitting in a circle on the living room floor, talking quietly, sharing secrets and personal stories, and the room seemed to vibrate with an intensity that made it impossible to ignore the magnetic pull between them. Emma noticed Mark looking at her in a way that made her stomach flutter, and Jake caught Lisa's gaze lingering on him with a softness that left him slightly off balance, emotions intertwining in a complex web of attraction, trust, and curiosity. Despite the excitement, there was also a gentle tension, an awareness that they were treading emotional territory that was delicate and fragile, and yet none of them could stop themselves from leaning into the connections, drawn by the intimacy and honesty that had emerged so naturally. When the night finally wound down, and Lisa and Mark prepared to leave, there was a heavy silence, a collective acknowledgement that something had shifted irrevocably, that the evening had opened doors to feelings that were both exhilarating and confusing. Emma and Jake sat together afterward, exhausted but awake with emotion, hearts racing as they processed the events, the playful touches, the lingering glances, and the unspoken words, realizing that the night had revealed not just the depth of connection with their friends but also vulnerabilities within their own relationship. They talked quietly, reflecting on what had happened, admitting fears and desires they had not spoken of before, and in that conversation, they discovered a newfound honesty and intimacy between them, a willingness to confront emotions rather than ignore them. The night left them with a mix of exhilaration, uncertainty, and longing, a realization that inviting another couple into their lives had not only stirred curiosity but also uncovered layers of their hearts and emotions that had been waiting quietly for attention. As they turned off the lights and moved toward bed, both Emma and Jake knew that the evening had changed something fundamental, that the bonds of friendship, attraction, and love had been tested and deepened in ways they had not expected, leaving them awake with thoughts of possibilities, the thrill of connection, and the soft ache of unspoken desires. And even as they lay in the quiet dark, hearts still fluttering, they both knew, without speaking, that their lives had been touched by something powerful, emotional, and irreversible, and the anticipation of the next encounter with Lisa and Mark lingered like a quiet, tantalizing promise, leaving them restless yet strangely exhilarated, aware that nothing would feel ordinary again, and that the gentle storm of feelings they had ignited was far from over. The next evening, the memory of the previous night hung in Emma and Jake's minds like a persistent echo, making it hard to focus on anything ordinary, and when Lisa and Mark arrived again, the energy between the four of them was electric, filled with anticipation, curiosity, and a subtle tension that neither couple could ignore. From the moment they greeted each other, laughter mingled with glances that seemed to linger a second too long, and playful teasing carried a weight of emotion beneath its surface. As they settled into the living room, the conversation drifted naturally from light-hearted topics to personal reflections, each story shared revealing more of themselves than they had intended, creating a closeness that was thrilling yet disorienting. Emma found herself next to Mark on the couch, their shoulders brushing occasionally, sharing quiet jokes that made her heart race, while Jake discovered a surprising depth of connection with Lisa as they discussed past dreams, regrets, and moments that had shaped them. Every glance, every subtle touch, carried an unspoken electricity that neither couple could fully define, a mixture of attraction, admiration, and emotional intimacy that was both exciting and confusing. They moved from games to storytelling, sharing memories of first loves, missed opportunities, and moments of vulnerability, and with each revelation, the bonds between them grew more complex, making boundaries blur and emotions rise. At one point, Emma excused herself to refill a drink, only to find Mark lingering in the kitchen, and their conversation turned unexpectedly serious, touching on fears, hopes, and the longing to be understood, creating a moment that felt suspended in time, intimate yet entirely innocent. Meanwhile, Jake found himself outside on the balcony with Lisa, talking under the soft glow of city lights, the quiet hum of the city below amplifying the intensity of their exchange, and he realized that her presence stirred feelings he hadn't acknowledged before, emotions of curiosity, attraction, and admiration that left him both exhilarated and slightly guilty. Back inside, laughter and playful banter continued, but the atmosphere was charged, a delicate tension threading through every interaction, making each casual touch and glance feel meaningful, significant, and impossible to ignore. Emma noticed Mark's attention on her during a quiet moment, and she felt a warmth in her chest, a rush of emotions that combined excitement, longing, and uncertainty, while Jake sensed a mirrored feeling in Lisa's subtle smiles and gentle teasing. Despite the thrill of the connection, there was an undercurrent of caution, a shared understanding that their bonds were precious and fragile, that the night was navigating emotional territory that demanded honesty, reflection, and care. As the evening wore on, the conversations deepened further. They spoke about hopes for the future, the challenges they faced in their own relationship, and the lessons learned from past heartbreaks, each discussion drawing them closer in an emotional, almost magnetic way, yet keeping everything appropriate and respectful. When the clock neared midnight, the four of them settled into a quieter moment, sitting in a circle with soft music in the background, the air thick with emotion, unspoken thoughts, and a shared awareness that the night had created connections that neither would soon forget. Emma caught Mark's eye across the room, and the silent acknowledgement of the bond they were forming made her pulse quicken, while Jake, noticing Lisa's thoughtful gaze, felt a similar stir of feelings, a blend of admiration, attraction, and the deep comfort of being truly seen. When Lisa and Mark finally prepared to leave, the farewell was gentle but heavy with significance. Hugs lingered slightly longer than usual, smiles held unspoken meaning, and each couple left the apartment feeling a mixture of exhilaration, confusion, and longing, aware that the emotional landscape of their relationships had shifted permanently. Emma and Jake sat together afterward, processing the night's events, sharing thoughts and feelings that had emerged, and realizing that the presence of Lisa and Mark had not only introduced playful excitement but also illuminated parts of their own hearts they hadn't fully explored. They spoke about trust, emotional honesty, and the importance of maintaining their bond while navigating complex feelings, and through the conversation, they found reassurance in each other's commitment, even as the memory of the night lingered like a thrilling, unspoken promise. The experience had revealed vulnerabilities, awakened desires, and created a subtle tension that was both emotional and romantic, yet entirely safe and appropriate, leaving them reflective, connected, and more attuned to each other than ever before. Lying in bed that night, hearts still racing, both Emma and Jake understood that the night had changed something fundamental. They had glimpsed the depth of human connection, the pull of attraction and understanding, and the beauty of emotional intimacy. And they knew that future encounters with Lisa and Mark would continue to challenge, excite, and deepen their appreciation for love, trust, and vulnerability, leaving them wide awake with anticipation, wonder, and the soft ache of feelings that had only just begun to unfold. The morning after Lisa and Mark left, Emma and Jake woke in a quiet apartment that suddenly felt charged with the memories of the past 2 evenings, the laughter, the glances, the small touches that had left them both unsettled and exhilarated, and as they sat together over coffee, the silence between them was heavy yet comforting, filled with unspoken thoughts and reflections. Emma broke the quiet first, her voice soft but steady, asking Jake how he had felt about everything, and he admitted honestly that he was surprised by the emotions the evening had stirred, feelings of curiosity, admiration, and a subtle attraction that had neither betrayed nor diminished their love but instead revealed parts of their hearts they hadn't explored before. They spoke openly about the tension, the excitement, and the deep emotional connections that had developed, realizing that while the nights had been playful and charged, nothing inappropriate had occurred, and yet the experience had allowed them to see each other and their own feelings with new clarity. Emma confessed the flutter of nerves she had felt around Mark, and Jake shared the unexpected warmth he experienced with Lisa, and in this honesty, they found a new intimacy, a renewed trust, and a profound understanding that their love was strong enough to weather curiosity, attraction, and emotional challenges. Over the next few hours, they reflected on the conversations, the laughter, and the playful teasing, analyzing the subtle dynamics and realizing that the evenings had not been about temptation but about connection, growth, and the exploration of human emotion in a safe and respectful environment. They acknowledged that the emotional intensity they had experienced was natural and human, a reminder that relationships are layered, multifaceted, and capable of deepening when navigated with honesty, communication, and care. As the day unfolded, they began planning how they would continue to nurture their bond while allowing space for friendships and social connections, understanding that boundaries, respect, and transparency would guide them through complex feelings without threatening their commitment. Emma suggested perhaps inviting Lisa and Mark over again, not for flirtation or drama, but to enjoy each other's company in a light-hearted, social way, and Jake agreed, feeling confident that they could handle emotions responsibly while cherishing their relationship. They spent the afternoon laughing about minor mishaps, sharing memories from the previous nights, and teasing each other gently, and in those moments, they realized that the excitement and tension had ultimately strengthened their connection rather than weakened it. By evening, the couple went for a walk in the nearby park, hand in hand, reflecting on trust, love, and the beauty of emotional honesty, recognizing that the experience had reminded them why they valued each other so deeply and how resilient their bond truly was. The conversations drifted toward dreams for the future, hopes for travel, shared projects, and quiet moments of intimacy, and every word, laugh, and touch reinforced the emotional security they felt with one another, tempered by the awareness of their human complexity and the inevitability of curiosity and connection with others. They recognized that emotions could be intense, confusing, and even thrilling, yet the strength of their love lay in communication, transparency, and a willingness to confront feelings rather than suppress them. That night, as they returned home, the apartment felt warmer, cozier, and alive with the shared history of the last few days, filled with lessons learned about emotional boundaries, trust, and the subtle beauty of human connection. Lying in bed, Emma rested her head on Jake's shoulder, both of them quiet but satisfied, hearts full of love, gratitude, and a renewed understanding of each other's depths, knowing that the emotional storms they had experienced had only made their relationship stronger and more resilient. And though the evenings with Lisa and Mark had stirred unexpected emotions, the couple realized that what mattered most was their honesty, their ability to face feelings without fear, and the unwavering commitment they shared, a love that could withstand curiosity, attraction, and emotional complexity while remaining tender, faithful, and profoundly human. As they drifted off to sleep, there was a quiet thrill in knowing that life was unpredictable, relationships were layered, and love was dynamic, and the gentle lessons of connection, trust, and emotional exploration would stay with them, guiding their hearts toward understanding, intimacy, and the kind of enduring love that embraces both challenges and joy, leaving them eager for whatever moments of life and love might come next.